here for Lawnfawn today with a Butterfly Kisses pop-up interactive card. I am so excited about this. This is featuring many new products from the Spring 2019 Lawnfawn release. This is going to be a top fold card base but flipped on its side, so it is going to open like a side fold with this awesome interactive butterfly that pops up inside the card. So the sweet little critters from Butterfly Kisses are chasing the ultimate butterfly, which is this large one inside. Let's start with the front of our card today. I am using the landscape stitched hillside backdrop. This is a previously released product from Lawnfawn that I absolutely love, and I'm going to use a little post-it tape on the back to hold the inlay sky there in place while I do a little inking. I'm also using post-it tape to mask off the landscape down below. I'm creating an inlay for the background, but yet that awesome die cutting and stitching creates an instant frame for the card. I wanted especially to keep my front of my card fairly flat. Even though this card features a pop-up inside, it's still going to mail really nicely because I haven't gone overboard with the dimension on the front of the card. But I want it to look like it has lots of dimension. So now that I've masked off the landscape along the bottom edge, we're going to use Lawnfawn dye inks with some ink blending tools to add a stenciled sky. Again, this is another way to create depth and dimension without the extra bulk, without the layers of die cut clouds and things like that. Awesome results. So just look at that sky. And what I love, no dry time. Because this is a dye ink, it's going to dry super duper fast. Let's go ahead and switch our masks now. And again, I'm just kind of reusing my post-it tape. And let's ink up the ground. I started with the Lawnfawn Freshly Cut Grass ink. And again, one of those makeup brush tool looking things. And we're going to ink the grass. I didn't feel like I was getting the depth and dimension and quite the right color I wanted for the grass. So I ended up blending into the Freshly Cut Grass dye ink some jalapeno ink. So all of these inks again are from Lawnfawn, and you're going to see how great those two green ink colors work together, how beautifully they blend to really create this fantastic landscape. Now, one little that I did was, you see on the left side the post-it tape kind of cuts off along the edge and I'm still inking. I didn't even think about it. So it's going to build that dark color along that left side with a sharp edge. I'm going to try to blend that out, and I was mostly successful. That actually ended up working out a little better than I thought it was going to. But I am going to take a little tuft of grass, a little image from the Butterfly Kisses stamp set, and cover up that just a tiny little bit. I wanted to add something over there anyway, but that's going to help disguise the fact that there was a little bit too much ink. So see, it's a really harsh line. When I realized what I'd done, I was a little bit disappointed because I was so excited about how awesome the ink blending is going with these dye inks. We're going to just keep building that color until we have the landscape looking as great as the sky. And again, this is fairly flat because we're going to inlay all of this. It's going to be flat on our card base. There's not going to be any raised elements. There's only going to be the images from Butterfly Kisses that are going to be stamped, die cut, and layered on this. It's kind of just two layers on top of our card base. But yet we're left with so much depth and dimension. Let's remove all of our masks now. And here is our adorable background. And I'm going to take that post-it tape off the back that I used to temporarily hold my elements in place so that I could get the seamless clouds, especially up at the top, from the frame to that die cut inside piece. I wanted the clouds to go all the way across, not just that inlay piece. So here is our card base. I don't want to fold it yet because I am going to do some stenciling inside the card, which kind of extends the scene just a little bit, and you'll see that in a little while. Something a little different is I'm going to have my card open on the side in this format, which I don't do a lot of, but I really think it is fun, and it of course works great for our pop-up. We have to have a card that opens from the side for this pop-up so that it works correctly. I stamped my images from Butterfly Kisses on Bristol smooth cardstock. I want to mention really quick that everything on the front of the card was Nina smooth white cardstock, so not a specialty cardstock at all. It's just a heavyweight cardstock, and I still got that fabulous blend. So really, really fun. The images here were stamped on Bristol smooth cardstock because I am doing a little no-line coloring with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. When I use my Zigs to color any kind of image, not just no-line, but any kind, I prefer the Bristol smooth cardstock because you get this beautiful blend. They blend like butter. They color so beautifully. The Antique Linen Distress ink, I used it because it's light, but I can still see it well enough to color in these images and add the detail. I've really been loving the no-line look lately and have been playing around with the zigs and the no-line look, coloring in my images. So this cute little fox is first. I know it's hard to see on camera. You can still kind of see the mouth, the eye, and the eye on him. I'm going to die cut him first, die cut everything first. And if I need to draw back in the eyes and things like that, I will do that later. If I'm using a like gel pen. If I'm going to use a zig pen to do that, I think, which I did for the mouths on both of the fox and the bear, I can do that before. But I have found with a gel pen, when you die cut after you've already added that detail, it smashes the eye and the nose, and so I don't like that, and I want to do that after I've die cut my images, so we'll just save that for later. You might notice on the net that I colored and blended, and then I went back with my dark color and added detail to make it look more like a net. So that's something fun you can do as well. The sign on the card is actually the front greeting on the card. It's going to have a little greeting on the front and a greeting on the inside. For the front panel, I also want to color this and die cut it, or color it, pardon me, first. Then we will stamp and emboss the sentiment from the new Open Me stamp set onto this sign. I love that this sign can be used with so many different greetings. It can really be customized to say whatever. You do not have to use it only with the Open Me stamp set. You can use it with other stamp sets as well. I'm definitely going to feature that because I love this sentiment. This is no ordinary card, because it really tells the recipient that there is something super special about this design. We're going to color in the bear. I think in video you can see the face better than I could in real time. As I was coloring this, I was so super afraid that I was not going to be able to see his face, that it was going to be kind of a pain to go back in and draw in those elements. But I let the ink dry a little bit. I went ahead and went over and I colored my butterflies and the grass and all the things. And I actually came back, and as that ink had dried, I could see his eyes and nose and mouth a lot easier and was able to trace those. So give it a minute. Sometimes I think when the ink is still wet, maybe a little harder to see that detail, but definitely I was able to still trace that easily. So I've colored in the rest of my butterflies, just skipping through that a little bit. I have listed the colors I used there on the screen as always. As I've been coloring, the colors are showing across the screen. So if anytime you're wondering exactly which color of zig marker I used, you can find that information there. I drew back in my mouths, and then let's grab those coordinating dies from Open Me and Butterfly Kisses and tape those in place temporarily with a little Post-it tape. And I was going to do that, and I realized really quick that I probably better stamp my sentiment. So I've got a powder tool. I'm going to deactivate here over the sign. We're going to stamp the greeting with lawnfawn clear embossing ink, sprinkle on our lawnfawn white embossing powder. I'm using a paintbrush to wipe away any little flakes that might be sticking to parts of the image or images that still are a little bit wet. And then we're going to heat set our sign, grab that coordinating die as well, and we're going to die cut all the things so we can start putting together the front of our card. And here's drawing back in eyes and noses, and you can see those cute little faces come to life when you've added those in. I wasn't super happy with the stomach of the bear. It was a little too light, so I did go back in and add a little bit more beige and blend that out. And then I'm simply grabbing the remaining coordinating dies and running those through. I kind of did a few at a time until I had everything die cut. All the little pieces for this, there are dies for everything. Lawnfawn does such a great job of giving us all the dies for all the pieces. I mean, you could even add flowers to this. There's a couple of little clouds. And there's also a bunny. I only didn't use the bunny today. He's so cute. I thought this was enough for the front of my card, so that's what I went with. And I'm going to kind of lay everything out, make sure everything looks good, because I need to stamp some stuff directly on the background now. There are coordinating dies for like the butterfly trails, but instead of that, I'm going to stamp them directly on the background. So the little heart one and also the little short one that I'm going to add a little bit later is stamped with the fish tank ink. I opted to do that instead of black. We don't have black ink anywhere else on this card. There's no black outlines or anything like that. And so I didn't want to add black butterfly trails. So up in the sky, those are in the fish tank ink. And then the one down along the grass is in jalapeno ink. Let's go ahead and skip to the inside of our card. We've left it flat to this point. That's mostly so that I used a pre-scored card, so there's going to be a little bit more ink that's going to kind of pool at the crease. However, I haven't folded it yet, so it's not as noticeable, and I purposely left it flat while I was stenciling so that the ink wouldn't pool along that crease. You could also die cut your own card base and go ahead and stencil it before you score it and fold it in half, and you won't have the ink pool along where it folds. I'm going to do most of the sky. We're not going to add any landscape on the inside because our pop-up element is really big, and I thought that that would take away from the butterfly element, so I did not add that to the inside of my card. I'm going to set my inside aside for 1 second, and I love the Open Me stamp set. I have been a big fan of the Push Here stamp set, and I use it all the time. These are just some more options like that. So I stamped Open Me down there in the bottom corner with a little arrow. This is also telling the recipient this card does something. I love stamp sets that tell the recipient that the card does something special. Again, opted not to use a black ink or white. I didn't want to take away from anything. I stamped it in green, green on green along the bottom, so that it flows into the design of the card better. Now, my pink butterfly had a little accident when I die cut it. The die shifted and it didn't die cut it perfectly. I probably could have used it anyway, but since I had to stamp another butterfly, I felt like I needed one more for the front of the card, and I needed another piece of grass. These were kind of things I thought of later. I went ahead and re-stamped it and colored it. It only took a second, and I'm going to die cut all of these for the front of my card. Let's move on to our pop-up butterfly. I have die cut it from smooth white cardstock, both the pop-up butterfly and the backer piece. That backer piece could be die cut from a contrasting piece of cardstock, glitter paper, vellum, whatever it might be. I just opted to do white cardstock because we're going to do an inlay. I wanted my butterfly to match a lot of the colors from the front of my card, so I die cut it this time from Bristol smooth cardstock, and I temporarily adhered those pieces inside with some post-it tape on the back. That's what that is sticking off the back there. And I'm coloring them in with the same color combinations that I've used for elements on the front of the card. I wanted a rainbow butterfly. So this is Bristol smooth cardstock so that the zigs blend beautifully on that. But the outline, the pop-up element that we're actually going to be using is from Nina's Smooth White cardstock. And that's just because I didn't want to use Bristol cardstock for all of the elements because we're not coloring on them. I try to save my Bristol cardstock for things I'm actually going to color. You can see I'm blending all this out using a blender to get that lightest color, and we're going to copy that over on the other side. I love the rainbow effect, and I think it really is showy on the inside of the card. There's so many ways you can put this awesome pop-up butterfly together. So neat. Once I have this all colored, I am going to show you how to assemble the pop-up butterfly and then how I inlaid the wings with all these colorful pieces. Just a couple more to color, and then we can do the fun assembly part and do all the finishing details to finish off this Butterfly Kisses pop-up butterfly interactive card. So here are our interactive pieces. Here is our pop-up butterfly. We need to fold it in first on the little score line. So I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'm going to put it together and glue those white pieces to our white outline butterfly. We're going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Just line that up perfectly. Make sure that it's right below that. Then I'm going to put glue on the inside pieces and inlay our rainbow. And because I've left Post-it tape on the back of this, it's super easy to inlay all of the elements because I can just pop them out and put them in place. I don't have to search for them. The Post-it tape has helped hold them there, kind of like a sticker, but not. It just helps me not have to go searching for all those little teeny tiny pieces. And look at our beautiful butterfly, our rainbow butterfly come to life. I just love this. Now that we have our pop-up butterfly, we are going to flip it over and put some tape adhesive on the back. Let's fold our butterfly in half and then fold those tabs back, and we are going to adhere them one side at a time. It's super easy. So just pull off the backing paper, and we need to fold those tabs kind of flat. And I'm so sorry, it looks like I got out of the frame just a little bit. So let's fold those. Make sure everything's lined up really carefully before we take it to our card. And I've lined up everything, and we're going to go to one side of the score line in the inside of the card, press that down, remove the backing paper from the other side. It's all folded to one side. Fold our card shut, and that's going to pick up the second side of the butterfly. And when you open it, look at it pop up. How awesome is that, you guys? Simple, simple. So many ways to do this, and so beautiful. The final thing we're going to do for the inside of our card is add our sentiment. So on the front, it says, "This is no ordinary card, open me." On the inside, we're going to stamp from the Butterfly Kisses stamp set, "Fluttering by to say thank you." Again, I opted not to use black ink, and we're going to use fish tank ink instead. If you want, there's other butterfly die cuts if you wanted to add more butterflies. I considered it briefly and decided I wanted to keep the emphasis on this rainbow butterfly, and so I didn't add anything extra. I'm going to stamp the phrases one at a time so that I can buddy them up and make them closer together rather than stamping them together. I like my sentiments to be a little closer together, and the extra space around clear greeting stamps will make it, if you put them both in your stamp positioner tool at the same time, it's going to have a big space between them. So I like to stamp them separately like this. And there is our inside greeting. Now we're ready to go ahead and put everything on the front of the card. This is going to be super quick now. I'm going to show you that pop up one more time. So cute. I just love this. It's the ultimate butterfly that fox is on the hunt for. I'm going to put adhesive all over the front of my card now, and we're going to take our background, and I'm going to put it in the Misty because this is going to just be a little cheater way. I love doing this. So we'll line up the card base and our panel with the bottom or the two sides in the Misty, and it perfectly lines it up every time. And then I've got a few more elements that I need to glue down, including the fox, the butterfly net, a couple of the remaining butterflies, it looks like. And that should finish up this interactive Butterfly Kisses pop-up butterfly card. I like to put something heavy over the top of anything I'm gluing down with liquid adhesive. That way it dries nice and flat. So let's take one more look at the interactive card. When the recipient gets it, they're going to have this so sweet scene that they'll see when they take the card out of the envelope that features these cute little critters from Butterfly Kisses, and when they open the card, they are treated with a pop-up butterfly. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this card featuring new stamps and dies from the Lawnfawn Spring 2019 release. Please be sure to visit the Lawnfawn blog for more information on this project. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.